gentlemen, it's that time of year. NASCAR season is back, which means my 2022 NASCAR premium package will be available here at RotoGrinders. It's your one-stop shop, lineup HQ, projections, projected ownership, articles, live shows, betting picks, everything. Discord, premium channel. We're going to be running the early bird special for $450 from February 1st until February 21st. So the Monday after the Daytona 500. Once that early bird special is up, we will not be offering a season price again until maybe the middle of the year. We will have a monthly price of $60 a month and a weekly package of $20 a month this year. A couple things that'll be new this year. We're going to do lineup HQ tags for trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. We're going to have a free preview and recap article, and we're going to be doing some prize picks videos throughout the year. They have some new scoring, so I'm excited for that as well. If you're looking to play the 2022 NASCAR season, the early bird special of $450 is going to be your best bang for your buck. It will be available, like I said, until the Monday after the Daytona 500. NASCAR season's here. The Clash is February 6th. So let's get on it. And again, always appreciate the support. So thank you for everyone that's been a part of the package before. And if you haven't, I look forward to working with you this season.
Grinders! Welcome to DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka Blenderhead, Blender HD. If you want to follow me there on Twitter. And it's Friday. It's casual Friday. We're casually talking about stuff today. I think we normally casually talk about stuff. We got NBA to go over from yesterday. We got NBA today, but as I always say, it's a repeat every day. We got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 game slate. Teams on back-to-backs. Who knows who's going to play, right? The Spurs. We can talk about the Spurs from yesterday. We got we got 16 people on the list. We got Murray, Clarkson, Hart, Whiteside, Curry. We got all the Pacers front court, right? We got Cade Cunningham, Zach LaVine. We got a ton of people. Is Larry Nance going to be back? I don't know. Does that matter? I don't know. Tons of stuff. So going over stuff now. What's the point? Like if we did that yesterday, we wouldn't have talked about the Spurs at all. Right? Okay, you play Deontay Murray, right? But he's out, everyone's out, and then next thing you know, everyone's playing all the Spurs. They get blown out anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much. But we'll talk about it. I got my MMA sheet for tomorrow's UFC card. If people want to take a quick look-see at it, I know some people like that. But give me those thumbs ups on your way in the door. Hit that thumbs up button, the like button, whatever they call it on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. I don't know what the subscribe button does. What does it look like? I don't know. I can do the thumb, right? The side that it's kind of like it's a square. It's kind of a square. Like I think it's a red square type of thing. That's a subscribe button. The notification bell. What is a notification? It kind of looks like this with a little thing on top or something. Hit that if you want to let you know when we go live, because we got the Grinders live later today. Crunch time for premium members. We got all the stuff all the content that normally comes out here on RotoGrinders. Good morning, people. Infamous Tuck beat Suki Singh this morning. He was here really early, right? 10:32. Suki Singh, Daniel Hutchings, R.C. Bremen, Card Van, Slick, Shannon Lambert, Brianna Mosley. Good morning. Nate Bradshaw said, I only looked at projected ownership versus projection and took down the GPP. Players don't matter. There you go. Amen. See, Nate knows what's going on. Nate knows what's going on. We provide you with all the tools that's needed to win without even knowing anything about basketball. Okay, you can play DFS that way. That's how most sharp players play. Okay, you got the numbers, you got the tools, make some lineups, and hope variance goes your way. Right, just wait for variance to go your way. You're probably going to be profitable long term. That's why you just use the projections, right? You use the ownership, right? That's it. Simple, easy peasy, right? I mean, obviously, but you're going to be playing 150 slates, hoping to bink 1 or 2 maybe depending on the size of the contest over the course of a year, right? And that's where most, if not all of your profit is going to come from. That's the name of the game in DFS GPPs. But yes, if you watch the show, go back to previous shows. How do you use the tools? Just the projections. And if you want to change the projections, change the projection. Oh, I think this guy's going to play more minutes, so change the minutes. Perfectly fine. Our projections, our minutes inputs are done by our projections team, which is Andy Means. It's Notorious. It's Tuttle's back there, and Jamino, and SBK, and Bob Reeves, and Alan Lem, and I don't know. There's probably more, right? They're dealing with that all day, right? They update. They pay attention to the news. They obviously, you have guys like Andy and Noto, Meansy and Noto. They've forgotten more about basketball than I know. So they follow the league way more than anyone. They're our experts. So who am I not going to trust? I'm going to trust our experts. And they think that the median range of minutes for Trey Mann today is 34 minutes, then why shouldn't I? If you don't think that 32, oh, it's 32. So make it 32 and the projection will go down. If you want to adjust stuff, you can adjust stuff. But once they're adjusted, once everything is adjusted, just use the numbers. That's it. That's all you need to do. Use the numbers. If you used the numbers yesterday, you played a lot of Spurs. Thad Young, Trey Jones started, Vassell, White. Problem is that most of these guys only played 2.5 quarters, right? Because the Spurs were down by like 28 by the middle of the third. And Pop said, I'm going to wave the white flag. And then he had Juancho Hernan-Gomez and whatever guys they have on there. The back in Wieskamp. Once you see Wieskamp, they're done, right? They're done. I mean, Thad got there because it was 3,000. He got 2,400. So that's a 8X, right? But like Derek White and Vassell, Trey Jones for 3,600 was useful, but not necessary, right? I had a bunch of Young and Jones. I had like 60+% of each. But I also had a lot of Anthony Edwards. And Anthony Edwards had like 17 points in his first rotation, right? Ended the half with 18. And then ended the game with 32. And I'm like, what happened there? What happened there? And then if you didn't have Sadiq Bey early, well, you were dead, right? And then the late game went off, right? Anthony Davis, Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, that whole game. Malik Monk did well, right? If we go by team, right? The Lakers, right? Davis, Westbrook didn't. Carmelo Anthony got injured. Yeah, Monk had 41. Davis had 63. And then the Clippers, right? Jackson 49, Morris 45, Ibaka 36. He went for 10x. I had a bunch of him, right? Late swap, right? Late swap. I had like 9 lineups with Zubac, and then he got ruled out. So I just pretty much global replaced Zubac to Ibaka because at that point there was no one. Zubac was 4,300, 4,400, something like that, and I had no one in my player pool at that point that it was cheaper than that, right? So who am I replacing in lineups? That I'm not going to get those lineups with Ibaka. So I just did a global swap there. Lost money yesterday, but not that bad. I was doing well early, right? Doing very well early. I was up by in the $5 zone. I was in first place for a while in that. But then the 10 o'clock games, boop, 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 boop. That's where your money goes down, right? So I think lost like 20, 23% or something. It was not horrible. I mean, I've had a good week, right? I think over the course of the past 4 days or so, up about maybe $1,600, $1,700. That's not bad. Not bad at all. I don't mind. I do not mind at all. Gary Trent overowned. I didn't have that much of him. Recency bias there. 61, his price is going up. And there's no way he's shooting 60% for 3-point range for the rest of the season. Okay. I get it. He was playable, but I think a 27% ownership on the slate yesterday was over-owned. Then we take a look at like Siakam, like Booker didn't do that well. Jeremy Grant. I had a bunch of Jeremy Grant. I had a bunch of Reggie Jackson. I had a lot of Steph Curry. Steph Curry disappointed, right? If Steph Curry put up like 55, I think I would have broke even or something instead of losing $100 or $200. Looking through here, obviously Lonnie Walker doesn't get there. Butler, Wiggins, Westbrook, horrible. Just taking a look, right? Basically, Sadiq Bey was the key. We take a look at the top 1% lineups. Reggie Jackson, Anthony Davis, Thad Young, Siakam, Bey, Trey Jones, Marcus Morris, Derek White even, but I mean, Derek White's, 45% owned. So he's going to show up in some top 1% lineups. Davian Mitchell had a game. Vooch had a game. They weren't as owned. Even Klay Thompson had a game, right? 7X. I had a bunch of him. Right? Vassell shows up in a lot of 1% lineups because at 19.25, at 45% owned, he's going to show up there a whole bunch. So yeah, you could use results DB. This is what you should be doing in the morning. Going through results DB, seeing the ownerships of everyone, seeing the lineups of sharper players. Like we went over yesterday, we spent half the show on Marquise Chris. Why was he owned? So if you have any questions like that, you're looking through going, why was this player this low owned or this high owned? Figure out why. Right? You could even star and save a whole bunch of sharp players and take a look at their exposure. Look at the Colts. The Colts was playing sneaky yesterday. 2% Thad Young. He was playing sneaky yesterday. He didn't get there, obviously. But for the most part, Thad Young, he was 59% owned, and like people had like everything. Right? 100% 95. I mean, Whistle's only at 48, but I mean, still a lot. Derek White, similarly. Vassell, similarly. Trey Jones was a mixed bag, but mostly over. Most sharp players were over on Edwards, even at 8,000. Gary Trent was a mixed bag, but you see a lot of people under, and then some. Pretty much I have a nerdy tenor and cheese. So, yeah, a lot of other players didn't have as much. I didn't. Anthony Towns, okay, mixed. Like Jeremy Grant was mixed, right? You're going to get a lot of mixed down here. Like Keldon Johnson. I had a bunch of Keldon Johnson as leverage, kind of. Everyone's playing White and Young and Jones, and like, okay, why can't Keldon Johnson get there? So you look through, you look down, and you see. You can look at individual lineups also. I wouldn't normally look through some individual lineups, but obviously for the sake of this show, I'm just kind of leisurely going through stuff. You could say casually going through stuff just to see. Rodney Magruder he came in starting, and yeah, I didn't play him at all. I saw that. It's like, oh, Diallo's not starting. It's going to be Magruder. Yeah, but Jeremy Grant's back. So it's like Magruder's what? He's just going to stand there and do nothing. What's his ceiling? I'd be more I prefer Diallo now more. Because now if Diallo's going to be in the second unit, I'd rather have him. We could take a look at the late swapper people with Ibaka, right? Oxenduck, RBX88, the Colts, Whistles, a Hubro, and some people didn't. Like Squirrel Patrol. Squirrel Patrol didn't. Well, 1.4. I don't see how you have Ibaka in before Zubac gets ruled out. But maybe if you have too many early players going, yeah, if you're playing like Thad Young, if you're playing a bunch of guys early, like there's no reason, even when you try to late swap to Ibaka, like the raw points aren't worth it, right? Because in lineups there's one person left in your lineup and you have Anthony Davis, right, in your utility spot. All 7, you're not switching to Ibaka there, right? Anthony Davis is going to give you more raw points, regardless if Ibaka is like projecting for 10x. Like Anthony Davis's median is 45 or whatever. Ibaka's median was, even if it was 10x, would be like 35. So you'd rather have the more raw points. So I could see how some of these non-Ibaka, because it's not like Ibaka was like a slam dunk play. Like if we knew the Zubac news before the slate lock that we'd be jamming in Ibaka, we wouldn't. He was okay. He went from a unplayable to playable, and that's about it. Same thing for the Kings when Fox was ruled out for the 800th time in a row. Just say that he's out. Why do we have to have these questionable tags? Right? Like I think 8 games in a row he's been out. Well, like once he got ruled out, it's like Halliburton and Barnes and Holmes and all those guys. They went from like if Fox is in, the whole team is kind of unplayable, and then when Fox is out, it's like okay, now the team is like efficiently priced. It's like they're playable. Like nothing to jam in or anything. So I understand if people didn't at 10 o'clock late swap or they didn't plan late swaps, which means they used a lot of earlier players. So I can understand that. Let's see. Going through the YouTube chat, RC Bremen. That's the goal. That's my goal. Earn 50 to 70K from DFS. Yep, that's my goal. That's on average, right? Because you can't just go by calendar years, but I mean, on average, 50 to 70,000. That's my goal. Would I rather do this, or would I rather sit in an office and work for someone else than at a job I don't like? That's how I view it. I'm not. This isn't. How do I make $7 trillion? I don't play that way. So, like, I'm playing these NBA slates now, and I'm playing $500 to $700 worth of volume. I'm playing 50 lineups, GPP only, on Draftkings. Maybe I'll play some on FanDuel also, but I'm like playing at that level. And I'm probably going to do very similar to like in baseball. UFC tomorrow, I'll probably play higher volume. I'll probably play, 1,500, 2,000 of volume because I think I have a much bigger edge there. But yeah, I don't need to step up. I'm not going to be playing with the $100,000 downswings and stuff like that. I don't need that. I don't need that stress in my life. I'm going to optimize my play for the highest probability of making $50,000 to $75,000 a year. And I've been successful. I've been playing for 6.5 years, right? I've been playing for 6.5 years, and my net profit total is around $500,000. So if you do the math, right? You take 500,000, right? 500,000 divided by 6.5. And that's about 70 to 77,000 a year. I'm doing great, right? Risk of ruin, very small, right? I'm playing less than 1% of my bankroll. And then I'm doing these shows and everything. That's me. Some people are like, I want to win life-changing money, and I'm blah blah blah. Play Millie Makers, and if I go broke, so be it. Okay, that's fine. Also, I'm more of a a nit. I'm more of a grinder. I'm more of a Joey Knish type. My kids eat with this money, right? Even though I have no kids. Let's see. Going through the YouTube chat. Hi, Blender. How chalky should I be in a single entry GPP less than 5,000 entries? It depends on the lineup. I would suggest watching a lot of these shows. I would suggest also getting my course, The Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports. 15-hour audio DFS masterclass. There's no answer to that. There's no how chalk. There's no black and white. There's no yes and no's in DFS. What should the total ownership sum be? Like, there's no number. It's all in relation to the slate. It's all in relation to the contest you play. The ownership in your contest may be different than the ownership in other contests, right? Obviously, late swaps and changes in like someone gets rolled out at 6:30 and everything changes. Like, dude, you're gonna have to react to how does the ownership change? Right? Because now you can't just use like, oh, well, I'm just gonna change that guy's ownership. Well, that guy's now 60% owned, and he went up from 10 to 60, where the ownership has to come out of other players also. So now you got to do that also. So it's not as simple of like, an NBA, that would be 180% ownership sum. Like there's no answer to that. I would suggest understanding the concepts, the game theory concepts of playing DFS, and then you can apply it any way that you want. So go to theoryofdfs.com. It's a 15-hour audio DFS masterclass. It's easier than going through 600 hours of my show. That's what I would suggest to do. Go back 2 years ago. I started this 2 years ago. So go back on our YouTube channel and go back to the first ever DFS pregame show, and then just watch them all. Start from the beginning. And it doesn't matter. We're talking about slates from 2 years ago. We're still talking about strategy and game theory and how to play. So you could do that. You could do that and watch 600 hours of content or 15 hours of audio where it's like all those concepts that you would get out of all of those shows are nice packed into one little package for you. Nate Branshaw says, would you say basketball is less game theory driven because of the nature of more normally distributed scoring? No, that's still like game theory doesn't just mean like, ownership. Like that it's every game theory encompasses every way that you would play a game, right? Against other people, right? That's game theory regardless. It still comes down, DFS still comes down at its core to play lineups that have higher probability of winning or have a positive ROI or positive expected value. Well, not dependent. Well, that's what we're talking about, the expected value. You want lineups that have a higher probability of winning in comparison to your opponents based on what your opponents have. Okay? The probability, if everyone owns one player, no matter what the projection is, and that guy gets injured. Isaiah Jackson the other day. He's 99.99% owned. You're playing a 100-man contest and he's 99% owned. You're the only one that doesn't have. And he gets injured on the first play. Your chance of winning first place has now shot up immensely. I mean, immensely. Because he's sitting there with a 0, and you're the only one that doesn't have a 0. Okay? By not playing him. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have a 1% owned guy, right? You have a 1% owned, and you're a 100-man contest. So you're the only one that has him. And he goes for 85 points in NBA. You've dramatically increased your chances of winning first place. Why? Because you have 85 points that no one in the contest has. No one, right? And the same thing with the other example of 99% of people have 0 points, and you're the one person that doesn't have it. So in the course, I describe that as relative value. So the relative value of players and the relative value of lineups is the game that you're playing. So no matter what sport you're playing, projection and ownership go together. Can you beat people with just projection? Yes, because people still make egregious mistakes from that. Play lineups that are very poorly projected, that they shouldn't be playing. They're too contrarian for the size of the contest. Or they're playing lineups that are way too median projected. I mean, cash lineups. So they have a good floor. They have very good min cash equity. But it's very hard for them to win first place because they're sharing so many points with so many other participants in the contest. So that's where you make your money in DFS, off of lineups that are either so poor that their chance of cashing is very low, is low. It's lower than average, lower than other lineups. Or what I would consider the 10 to 15% of lineups that you'll see in contests that are chalk city. That could only possibly win if the winning score is like 420. And even then, you may even split it. It's not like it's that chalky. They're playing people just jamming in cash type lineups. Too much so in a large field GPP. In a smaller field GPP, cash type lineups have more win equity to them. But it's all in relation. Why do the lineups that have all chalk in it bad for large field GPPs? Because you're sacrificing like the equity in the top of the payout structure. And that's where most of the money is, right? You've given yourself a much better chance now of coming in the top, in the 20th percentile, getting a 1.5x min cash, or even a 2x type of cash. Maybe a 3x even. Ooh. But you've sacrificed top 50, top 10, top 5. Where pretty much on these types of contests, in large field especially, that's where all the money is. So you're not going to min cash often enough, especially at 1.5x, with those types of lineups to show a positive ROI. Right? Yeah, you're going to bleed your money slowly. Right? You're going to feel like, oh, okay. You're going to feel like you're going to see an ITM rate in the money rate if you use RotoTracker, playing those types of lineups, and you'll see like a 35% ITM or something. Remember, typically a GPP pays out somewhere between 22 to 25% of the field. Okay? So that on average, that would be the cash rate. And you're cashing at 37%. right? But a lot of these caches are 1.5x. They're not 2x caches. So you have to cash way more than 37% of the time to be profitable, min cashing the GPPs. But if you're cashing 35 to 40% of the time, it feels like it's like, oh, I'm winning a little, I'm losing a little. I'm winning a little, I'm losing a little. But you don't realize that over the course of 3 months, you're winning a little, you're still going down. And your chances of winning first place, like you're almost not playing for first place. You think you are, but you're not. It'd be very difficult to do that. As opposed to playing lineups that aren't horribly projected, right? Like the really bad lineups, and not horribly chalky like those min cash equity lineups somewhere in the middle. Your in the money rate may actually go down. Your in the money rate on average, right? 22-ish% would be on average based on the payout structure of these GPPs, 22 to 24, somewhere around there. Your in the money rate may be 17%, 18%. Maybe 20%, somewhere around, more like not 37 to 40, not 35 to 40. But when you do cash, you're not cashing as many for 1.5x. You're cashing more for 5x, 8x, 10x, hopefully at the top, 1,000x, 10,000x, whatever it is at the top. It's not about cashing the most often. It's about winning the most money in the long run. I'd rather play 80. You play 150 slates. You could lose 149 of them if you win $100,000 in one of them. And if you play that way, you'll be more profitable. But so many people play what are the best plays? Give me the highest projected lineups. I don't care about ownership type of thing. They cash more often. They start with $1,000, and at the end of the season, they're sitting there with $600. It's like, oh, I went the whole season and only lost $400 because I went up and down, 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 little, right? But they really had no chance of winning. And maybe once in a while oh, good, I have a big score. And then sometimes you have a little bit more of a downswing. But you're playing and not even understanding that your chances of winning are very small. While guys like me are putting in lineups where I don't mind the variance. Right? I had lineups yesterday without Thad Young. I have no problem fading chalk depending on the lineup. Right? So I'm not looking for plays. I'm just looking for the best lineups that have higher probability of winning, of having a return, a higher plus return than the rest of the field, than what it should be. Right? That's what expected value is. You have a 6-sided die. If I'm getting 10 to 1 odds to guess the number, I'm playing the game. Give me that bet. What number do you choose? Does it matter? They all equally have a shot at it. 6-sided die. They're all equal. So what should you get? What should the payout be? 6 to 1. If I'm getting a 10 to 1 payout, that means the probability of it happening is payout 6 to 1, and I'm getting 10 to 1. So over time, I'm making money. I should be getting paid 6 to 1. That would be completely break even. It's like flipping a coin. If you're getting even money on a coin flip, and do that forever, you'll end up with the same amount of money in your hand. You'll win one, you'll lose one. You win one, you'll lose one. Obviously, there'll be times you win, and then you'll lose. I mean, but the law of large numbers over, 10 million flips or whatever, you'll come very close to 50%. Win $1, lose $1. Win $1, lose $1. But let's say in a coin flip, when you lose $1, but when you win $2. I'll play that game forever, and I'll have all the money. That's it. That's what all gambling is. That's what all of this is. If you're betting on props, if you're betting on games, you're trying to find lines that give you a better payout than the probability of the event happening. Now, obviously, with a coin flip, it's a very discrete example. It is 50% on a fair coin, obviously. It's 50%. 6-sided die on a fair die. Right? 16 point whatever percent. Right? A 20-sided die, 5%. I mean, it's easier. 52 card deck, right? They're very discrete, they're very finite things. But when it comes to, Bengals versus Rams, what's the probability of one team winning? Well, that could be subjective. But really all you're doing is going, not who do I think is going to win the game? It's a matter of, well, what is the line? Right? If the money line is just on who's going to win the game. And if it's like the Rams are minus 150, that equals a 60% implied probability. And if the Bengals are 40%, I'm assuming no vig, right? Right? If the Bengals are plus 150, that's 40%. Well, do you think what do you think the probability of the teams playing? If you think it should be 57-43, yet the line is 60-40, then bet on the Bengals. You have value. You're getting positive expected value. Doesn't mean you don't like the Rams. You actually think the Rams have more of a shot at winning. Just not as high of a shot as what the line is currently, the betting line is. I mean, that's kind of how I set up my MMA sheets. I mean, this is my MMA sheet. Obviously, I haven't filled in everything. And I know the ownership on RG is probably going to change a little. So on my MMA sheet, MMA is the easiest because it's very binary outcomes, right? There's going to be 13 fights. I would say 99% of the time, your goal is to get the six highest scoring fighters, six highest scoring winners in one lineup. So I compare the odds. These are the win odds from sportsbooks, the inside the distance odds, and the round one odds. Because on average, if you could get 600 plus in MMA on DraftKings, you're probably going to be competing towards a top 1% finish. So you're looking for fighters that could score 100 plus points. That's your goal, right? And if you did the data analysis, the highest correlation between 100 plus point scores in UFC DFS on DraftKings is the round one finish odds. Because obviously, if you finish in round one, you get 90 points automatically, right? Now, you could have a round one finish and not score 100, right? There's a couple of punches and TKO or whatever, but typically if there's a knockdown, that's 10 points. They're done. That's 100, right? So if you get a first round finish, your likelihood of scoring 100 points is extremely high. It's very highly correlated. The next would be the inside the distance, which means you finish the fight sometime in between round one and round three, that it doesn't go to a decision. The next thing would be the win. That obviously it's very hard for losers to score 100. 5-round fight, extreme action, maybe. I think maybe it's happened once. But it's very hard for you to not have that at least the 30 points on a decision and get to 100. But those are the betting lines. So I'm using the efficient market hypothesis when doing this, that the betting lines, essentially the closing line is the most efficient line, right? The wisdom of crowds. Everyone's putting their own opinions in, blah, 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 blah. The line moves, blah, 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 there. Because I'm not using it to bet against. I'm just using it as a basis and comparing that to ownership. So I compare that to ownership. I even put in I weigh the actual projection, because certain fighters fight in a higher scoring style, higher pace than others. So I at least want to capture some of that in my way. Like Miles Johns is not someone that's going, he's number one, he's plus 225 inside the distance, and he's also not really an action fighter. Right. So and a decision is, he probably scores under 70 points, possibly, even in a decision. And that's why his projection is a little lower, 66. So I want to capture a little bit. But you're comparing that to the ownership. So like Miles Johns at 16% ownership, based on his odds, even though they're lower than some of these guys, may not be that bad because he's only going to be 16% owned versus the guy above him who has a 50% shot of winning inside the distance, but is also his ownership is twice as much. Right? But if we change the ownership, let's say we changed instead of 33 and 16, we did 16 and 33. Rachmaninoff would be an amazing play, right? And Miles Johns, you wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. Right? He's not worth it at 33% ownership. All I'm doing, what are the odds of it happening versus what is the field giving me as far as ownership? Right? A very similar thought process to that six-sided die. Right? It's a six-sided die. What are the chances that a six-sided die comes up? 16.7%. What's the ownership? What am I getting paid? Yeah, but it's only a 16% shot that it'll happen. Yeah, but if it's only owned at 5%, then I'm going to take it. It's not going to happen that often, but when it does, I gain a lot of relative value from doing so. So that's why I tend to play. You'll notice, and if you download the CSV and look at my lineups, that I'm typically over on big underdogs. Doesn't mean I'm playing 50% of them or anything. But if the guy Danilo Marquez is going to be 8% owned. Almeida is a 80% shot at winning, 59% shot at winning inside the distance, and a 38% shot at winning in the first round. He's going to be 35% owned. He's probably a good play. He's a good play at 35% owned up there. But at 8%, it's like his odds of winning in the first round, the biggest underdog's first chance of winning in the first round is 9%. So it's still higher than 8%. Winning inside the distance, 17%. And also when you're only spending 6,800, I don't need 140 points out of the guy. Like if this guy wins inside the distance and scores 85 points at 6,800, that may be good. And that could still make the optimal lineup. And he's only going to be 8% owned. Doesn't mean I'm playing him in all my lineups. No. All I'm saying is that you're getting positive expected value, positive relative value from playing him. But let's say we change that right now. Instead of 8%, look how small changes can matter. If he was 4%, look at the rating on this side right here. Like at 4%, I'm gonna be probably playing 20% of him, right? At that, because he shouldn't be 4%. Right? We had him at 8 projected. But let's say we go 4 points in the other direction. He's 12% owned. Now he starts becoming. Now it starts cutting off really quickly. He's going to be 16% owned. Now he becomes one of the worst rated plays on the entire slate. Worst rated fighter on the slate at 16%. But at 8%, it's like I could play someone. So that's the difference. This is what DFS is. We look at today's slate with the numbers. All you're doing is looking at numbers, right? You're looking at fantasy player projections and projected ownership, putting lineups together and saying at this projection and at this ownership, is this a positive expected value lineup for the size of contest that I'm playing and the payout structure that it is? That's it. The answer is yes, play it. The answer is no, don't play it. And the stronger the fields of your contest, the higher expected value lineups you need to play. A lineup that would be plus EV in a $1.20 max, right? May not be plus EV in a 20 max if there's an $88 contest, mid stakes, similar field or whatever, because you'll have sharper players there. You won't have some of the garbage lineups at the bottom. You won't have some of the cash lineups in the middle. So that lineup may not actually be positive expected value in that contest. That's the main reason you want to find the weakest players possible. Play the low stakes as long as you can. If you could avoid guys like I can't play under $5 on DraftKings. Well, less than a 25,000 person price pool. I can still play the $4.20 max. So do you want to play against me? Do you want to play against Chipotle Addict? Do you want to play against Squirrel Patrol? Like, play the $1 contests. If you can't beat those, you're not going to beat the higher stakes stuff. The mid stakes, anything, you're not going to beat that. So play the quarter arcade. Max it out. The $1.20 max, whatever it is, the mini max. Play all of those. And build up your bankroll. You'll have a much higher ROI in those contests. So you build up your bankroll, that way. And then once it gets to the point where you can now mix in some of the middle stakes, play some of the larger field stuff, take some shots, that's fine. But there's so many people that are like, oh, I don't want to play the mini max. It's like $1,000 to verse. Is it worth it? Like, well, if you can't beat that, you can't beat the $15 one. So why don't you beat the mini max a couple of times? I don't know. Why do you need all the money now? It doesn't work that way. Be patient. I started with $400. That's it. $400. 6.5 years later, $500,000. What do you think I did in the beginning? Did I think I would, I'm going to take $100 out of my 400 and play one contest? No, I played the dollar contests. I was playing soccer, dollar contests, playing dollar double ups and dollar head to heads, right? Playing $20, $40 worth of lineups. Hand building. I'm not even using optimizers, right? You learn how to hand build. Still using projections, but still going, okay, I see what the projections are. I see what the ownership is. Let me hand build some lineups. And you build 10 lineups. Right. I'm not playing 100. I wasn't playing 150 back then. I'm going to hand build 10 lineups. I remember 2017, 2016, 2017. First decent win in baseball was 20,000. That was a day that STL cards came in first. I came in second. I wasn't at RotoGrinders. I was just a RotoGrinders subscriber. That day, I think I hand built 14 lineups in baseball. That's it. Basketball, I won $100,000 in basketball. I hand built 12 lineups. And one of them won. Right? Because I moved up. Right? I moved up from the dollar contests. And then I got into the $15 large field, 20 to whatever large. But it's like I'm not going to play $1,000, $2,000 worth of volume. That's way above my bankroll. Still going to play like $200, $300 worth of lineups back then. In 2017, after I've won a bunch. But I started with $400. Seems like a lot of people want to start with $400 and in 6 months have 400,000. It doesn't work that way. I mean, you get lucky, yes. Obviously, you could get lucky and that could happen. But it depends on if you're thinking in those terms, then you're kind of playing for entertainment purposes. You're not being serious. You're playing the lottery. You're playing $1 in a dream. You can still play well, but your risk of ruin is absurdly high. If you're looking to turn $400 and by the end of the year have 4,000, that's doable. That's a goal. That's doable. Starting January with 400 and ending the year with 4,000, that is absolutely doable. People want to go with 400 to 400,000. No. Then at the end of the year, you go from 4,000, and at the end of the year, you have 16,000. That's doable. Then year 3, you start with 16,000, and at the end of the year, you have 80,000. That's doable. Year 4 starts, you turn 80,000 into 250,000. That's doable. You turn 250,000 into 400,000. The next, then now the steps will get a little bit smaller. That's all doable. You play well. Don't think in terms of, I lost today, I got to play double tomorrow. Those type of things, you're not serious then. Okay, let's see. Anything else before we get out of here? Because I don't know what we're going to talk. This slate has so many question marks on it. Is there anything that we could talk about? I don't know. Nbot says, learned a lot here. Listen to the band and go back and rewatch. Yeah, definitely. Was playing quarter entry 20 maxes, did good enough, but no first to jump to FanDuel. $2.22 20 max, bink $2,500 in a 13K entry contest. Yeah, and then you move up. You go, you wait for a bink, and you move up. Play the long game. Play the long game and understand you're going to lose 90% of the time. You're playing GPPs 90% of the time. Diego Rodriguez soccer show coming Monday. No, I don't do soccer shows. For the Tuesday EPLs, is there a slate on Tuesday? I mean, I guess if you're here on Monday or Tuesday, when's the slate? It would be Tuesday afternoon, right? So, I mean, if you want to ask some soccer questions on Tuesday on this show, feel free to come back then. Yeah, they're doing a midweek game? Because I know there's nothing tomorrow. That's kind of weird. They go on international break and then come back midweek? That's odd. I didn't even realize it. So there is soccer? I wasn't even aware. I mean, I need to plan for that now. Okay, so there's only one game tomorrow. That's Burnley-Watford. Oh, yeah, Tuesday. Okay, we got only 3 games, right? So we got 3 games on Tuesday and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games, 5 games. No, 4 games. Wednesday. Okay, so this is going to be midweek. And then Saturday, we're back into the normal swing of things. Yeah, if you want to ask some soccer stuff on Tuesday, feel free to go ahead. There's nothing for me to do now. I was talking about the other place. No, I typically don't do podcasts midweek. Only because I'm working on RotoGrinders stuff. Except for Fridays. If there's a Saturday slate, right, I'm typically on that podcast. As long as I'm available. Okie doke. So it's Friday, right? Casual Friday. I answered some casual questions. We talked about some stuff, right? Did we really? Kind of scolded some people. Put a reality check. This was more of a reality check for some people. But you can learn all even the bankroll management type of stuff is all in here. Theoryofdfs.com. It's 15 hours long. Me and James McCool. Give you do you want to learn how to play DFS well? All the concepts are here. And it applies to all sports. Will you be able to execute and implement all of this? No, it takes time. You don't just learn this overnight. You learn the concepts, you do. That's the whole point. That's how I built this course. For you to listen through it 15 hours all at once, play for a month, and then listen to it again. And play for a month and listen to it again. Or some people are listen to it before you start another sport. Like before the baseball season, listen to it. Then before the football season, listen to it. Before basketball. You go, am I doing this enough? Am I doing that enough? Am I wrestling this concept as much? Right? Because that's how I learned how to play poker. I would read a book, play. Read a book, play. Read a book, play. Reread it, play. Reread this other book and play. In the beginning, it seems like you're doing something like you're weighing so much. Oh, what does this guy do? I have to pay attention to that. It takes a lot of mental energy. Then as time goes by, things become much more instinctual. It gets quicker. Your brain picks up on patterns. Next thing you know, it's two years later, and the stuff that it would take you feel like you're thinking too much just comes now. It almost feels like a sixth sense. That's what I did in poker. I could sit down at a table, profile players, and within 2 to 4 hours, kind of like nail the ranges of everyone at the table. In the beginning, I couldn't do that. In the beginning, I had to study every hand, right? Watch. What did he play? What did that play? And now I could just sit back. I could sit back and I'm casually. I barely notice that I'm paying attention to it. That's through doing things over and over, right? Reading over, studying my play. If online, obviously you have hand histories, you could do all that, but live, you go over. It's like, well, should I did this there and that there, even after a hand, you go after a hand and you get a showdown or something, you go, yeah, I could have played that hand better. Regardless if you win or lose, right? Even if you win, it's like, I could have made more money if I did this. Maybe I have to check more here. Maybe I have to raise more here. Maybe I'm playing too many hands out of position. Maybe I'm whatever it is. But then you go back and you read and you learn and you read and you learn and you read. Go back and then you'll get it. Most people that have taken this course or have watched my shows say that there's typically an epiphany moment, right? Once you have that moment of understanding exactly what DFS is as a mathematical game theory type of experience, not a game about sports, or even players, right? Then everything it clicks, and then you look back and it's like you played for 5 years and go, wow, that guy was stupid as hell, right? You go back, it's like, oh wow, I asked a lot of stupid questions. Now I understand Jordan. I understand why 95% of the questions are dumb as hell, right? You got to have that click, and you go when people are asking, should I play this guy or that guy? You know, why is he always pissed off at those questions? Like now, you'd understand why. Or who do you like? And who the best play is? Those types of words. You'd be like, you're right. Those are dumb questions. Or questions that have no context. Like they are unanswerable without other information. But go to theoryofdfs.com. Pick it up. How to think like a professional DFS player. Am I a professional DFS player? I guess so. Right? Hit the thumbs up button on your way out the door. Thummy thumbs. If we want to go over the NBA slate, you do it later today on Grinders Live. 5 o'clock, 5:10. It's always weird for me to say 5:10. 5:10 p.m. Just make it at 5 o'clock. Why are we doing shows at 5:10 p.m.? Just make it 5. It's so much easier. I don't know why. Do I have to put that in the complaint box internally at RG? It just seems so weird. 5:10 p.m. Feels like the old TBS, like 6:05, right? Everything was on 05 and 35 on TBS. For God, does it still work out that way? I don't know. But it used to be 5:10 p.m. on this channel, on this YouTube channel for Grinders Live. Crunch time for premium members, right? And if you're a premium member to RotoGrinders, rotogrinders.com/premium, get $10 off by clicking on the link for your first month. Tomorrow, as part of the Blenders Game Theory channel in the premium Discord, another group coaching call that is going to be at noon tomorrow, noon Saturday, right? Because there's no soccer. That's why I put it there. It's like, okay, there's no soccer. I'll do something at noon on a weekend. And then there's MMA at 4 o'clock. So it fits in nicely. So if you're a premium member and you're part of the Blenders Game Theory channel in our Discord, you should sign up for the alerts there in 5 minutes. But at 11:55, you'll get a link, an alert in that channel with the Zoom link and how to participate in our video coaching calls. So do that. Play NBA tonight. I think we're good. Hit those thumbs, right? Hit the thumbs, hit the subscribes, hit the what does a notification bell look like? Something like that. Hit all the buttons. Hit anything you want on the YouTube page. It's perfectly fine. And I'll see you next week on Monday for another edition of the DFS pregame show on RotoGrinders.com.